removing color and getting her to more of like a nice warm balayage. With these steps, we can completely skip the color remover if her base level is maybe at like a 5 starting level, more chocolatey brown. But we don't want to highlight through this and then have this level 3 still hanging in there, because it's just not going to go with what her goal is. So you're really going to utilize the color consultation form, getting to really know her hair history, and also teaching her, because this might be her first time going dark to light. She might have been coloring her hair for years, just all over color, and really helping her to understand the process and what really goes into all the time and the work that it goes into to make the final look complete. So tell me about what you've done with your hair in the last 3 years.
Always done an all over color to cover my grays. It's always been a dark brown color like this. I haven't lightened at all. Just always gone darker and covered my roots in the grays.
Do you do it yourself or at the salon?
Salon.
Okay, at the salon. And when was the last time you did root to tip?
It's been about a month and a half now.
Okay, so every time do you get it pulled through the ends? Okay.
All the way.
So what we want to explain to the client too is that when the hair has been colored root to tip, maybe it's been gloss or just tone and it's not that permanent color, but it's almost like layers of paint on a wall.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to like remove that and then go back in and address the color, the bands of color throughout. So it's always great to start with a test strand.
Yeah.
So with that, would you be comfortable with us taking cutting a little section of your hair in the back middle where you won't even notice it, and just doing a test strand?
Yeah.
So you can see the process. If I don't do that, I can show you in photos too, but I'm also going to show you in photos so you really understand what we're going to get into today. Okay.
This is the photo you will utilize to show an example of what the hair looks like as it goes through the lightening process over permanent. The script will sound like this. I want you to see what the hair looks like in a foil as it lifts through color. You can see the root that has not had color recently lifts nicely to a blonde, while the mid-shafts from previous coloring has really held onto the underlying pigment. This can take more processing, and especially more product to remove it if it's black, or has had any red color under other colors in the past. What I am going to do is process and reapply lightener to these areas that are not wanting to budge so much to lift it out as much as possible. We might have some areas we have to tone not as light or as cool as your goal photo, but over time we can work our way to that after a couple sessions.
But the test strand is really going to help us see like what's exposed for us to understand.
Yeah.
Now for me, I'm not a big test strand person per se, because I know what's going to be exposed, especially if I can get that history with her. So it is a step you can skip, but if the client has time and you want to let that process for like 30 minutes and then kind of like go into all that, or she just comes in for a consultation and you want to do the test strand, then that's when I would recommend doing it. However, I'm going to show her in photos the actual color that is revealed once we start the lightening process so she can understand. So what we're going to do today is we're going to put on a color remover. So it's going to go on first, and what that's going to do is lift her entire base. It's going to look red. It's going to look okay. And especially like on your roots, which haven't been touched up in like a month and a half, this is going to get nice and bright, almost like a yellow.
Yeah.
And then in through here, where you've had like those years of color layers, we're gonna have reds and oranges.
Yeah.
Okay. And then your ends will probably start to get nice and light.
Yeah.
But what we're gonna do is after we remove the color and we get that base overall lifted, then we're gonna go back and foil your head, and that's gonna get us those like more of like the highlights effects. And so I'm shooting for more of like a caramely blonde.
Yeah.
Okay. Not too blonde.
Yeah.
More on the caramel side, so it'll have some warmth. You okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Especially after this first process. After you come back several times, you know, like every 2 months, and we continue to lighten, then we can get out more of the warmth, and we can start to get into like some more blondies.
Yeah.
Blondie caramels. So we're gonna do the color remover, we're gonna highlight, and then between your foils, I'm gonna go back and neutralize your base color. And that's gonna get us like that chocolatey brown between your highlights too.
Cool.
So we're gonna start with the color remover. I'm gonna do that first, I'm gonna bring you back. After that, we've rinsed it and then we're gonna foil. Overall process is gonna take probably 4 hours, give or so. Now that's just with me working with assistants. So if I'm doing this by myself, I could tell her it might be 6 hours, might be more, depending on the hair density too. Her hair is pretty dense, but it's not super, super long, so that's good. So that'll, with the color remover, we're actually gonna use lightener and 25 volume. But you can pretty much, I've estimated we're gonna do like 4 double batches of the color remover to start. And then with the lightener, we'll probably do 10 to 12 bowls of lightener, plus all over color. So I'm gonna give her a cost estimate with the color remover between 700 and 1,000, give or take. And you know, that does sound like a lot, but if you want to remind your client too, like this is gonna be the biggest transformation that they're gonna spend on, and then it'll start going down in price, because then you're just gonna be more like making small changes. So today's gonna be like the big one. You know, we can spend 15 minutes on filler or Botox that costs $800 to $1,000. This is a service that's gonna take like 6 hours. So remember, your time is worth it. You're basically having to babysit this process the entire time. We're gonna be opening up the foils. You'll see that in resaturating. So this isn't something you can just foil and then let her process and come back. It's a lot of work and a lot of management on the hair. Okay, so let's get started with the color remover. Okay. Dry spots. Looks like we've got a nice even saturation. So that's great. We might feather up. Oh, that looks good there. We can also cover this with some plastic and put her under some heat, or get the heat lamps, depending on how that cuticle, how it's like holding on to the color. This is 25 volume, so it should work rather quickly, but the more dense their hair is, you could go up to 30 volume. 3 double batches of lightener. I would always just go with the lightener instead of the color remover, unless you're trying to like lift out not a ton of hair and not like a color like reds or something like that. The color remover would probably be a better bet for you, depending on what your goal result is, or if it's like a fashion color. And she's lifted really, really nicely. You can see she's getting to like above a 6, which is great. So I think we're gonna have a really consistent lifting down into the bottom is where we're gonna really have to like focus on making sure we get that heavy saturation when we're lightening, but this will take us to that nice level 6 between her foils when we put the color on. Okay, we have rinsed the color remover and power dried, so it's not 100% dry. We've got a really even lift from root to tip, which is great. So beyond what we're gonna do in the lightener and the foils, we're not gonna have to do a lot of color balancing from like the root to the tip, which is really great on that base color that we use. So that's nice, that'll make that easy. But I'm gonna go ahead and show you some techniques on foiling long hair and removing the color to get that nice even lift. Okay, so we're ready?
Yep.
We're starting with 25 volume. If her ends were previously lightened and I was working by myself, then I might use 20 down here and then 25 here, but it's pretty consistent root to tip, and there's several of us working, so keep that in mind, that you might stick with 25 on the ends throughout the whole head, and then you're gonna go to 30 here, and you might use the 25 here on that lighter band. and end up with like 35 volume and 40 when you get to your last sections in that mid shaft. Also, we're going to keep our foils long. That way these ends, once they're processed, we can open our foils back up and just pull them out so they don't continue to lighten. But the most important thing that we're going to do is pre-saturate our foil. We're going to do this on hair that we've done color remover on, or if it already has, if she has color on her hair, and even virgin hair that you're lifting for the first time or going lighter in these back sections, you're always going to pre-saturate your foil. So I've got my foil on there, and then on these bottom sections that are going to frame her face when they come forward, I want to make sure that I'm doing slices there. And I'm going to get across that band. We are going to go between foils with that color, all over color, so I'm going to make sure that I close my foil. And on these ends that are going to lighten quickly, I'm not going to super saturate them, but I'm going to make sure that they have enough lightener on them to get them light. But I'm not going to stick them up into the top. I want them easily accessible so I can grab them and pull them out. So when I open these foils, I'm going to go back and look for dry sections after it's processed for a little bit. And I'm going to resaturate maybe with like 30 or 40 volume on sections that I want to lift completely. So what I'm going to do is do 2 on this bottom hairline back to back like that. And then I'm going to start leaving sections about this wide between. So 2 back to back, and then I'm going to do another slice like this, and then I'm going to go up the head like that. Now once I move up the head, I can go to more of like a weave, depending on the result that I want. And then I can also tip out some hair. So you'll see that as we move along the head, and I'll demonstrate that. But first we're going to start with these slices. Okay. Last 2 foils were chunky weaves, so we're leaving dimension in between. This is going to be a solid 6 ash, and it's just looking chocolatey. So I'm going to go ahead and slice a section. It's about as thick as my pinky. Okay. I come down to the bottom and get my tension so it folds over my finger. And then I'm going to do 3 big teases. 1, 2, 3. And that's going to have color over it. So that's fine. We're going to go actually on this one to the top of the foil and like just feather it out a little bit. That way when I do the root color between, it'll come down onto that. We don't have any exposed orange left over. So this is just going to be like a feathered up slice. So 3 big teases, saturate your foil, and then you're going to just feather it up a little bit on that nice thin hair, and then the root color will come down onto that. We're definitely making our way through with the lightener. We started with estimating that we're gonna do 2, 4, 6, 10 bowls of lightener. And we've mixed up 6, almost out of that. And then we're gonna go to the next with that. Okay, around the face section, I've just done 3 back-to-back slices. So she's gonna get full lightness through there. And then I'm gonna continue those slices when I get up into the bangs. I'll do 3 here, and then I'll probably do maybe 5 in the front, and then work my way to a weave. So it's like a really strong, there's not gonna be any of that level 6 coming through the bangs. I could do 3 back to back and then start weaving. I might do that just depending on where I end up. So kind of just want to have this space carved out through here and know that I want that entire section light. The most important thing that you can do is keep track of how much product you're using. The remover, that's how many we use of the lightener during that portion. And then this is where we're at for our entire lightening service. We had maybe a bowl left over total from like what we mixed up for the ends or something. So that was pretty consistent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 bowls of lightener. Now we've got 2 full tubes of 6.1 mixed up, and we are getting ready to pull it through root to tip. This is Dia color with just 9 volume, so it can work quickly. So if we need to pull some foils soon, we can. So I'm pulling the 6.1 root to tip, and as I'm working my way through with some of these foils, especially in this crown section, when you get into the mohawk through here, it's heavy and they start to slide a little bit. So as I've been going, what I've been doing is just taking a little baby half foil, and if the foil has kind of slid back, this one's actually pretty good, but if it's slid back at all to where this is starting to get exposed like this, then I'm just gonna take that little baby half foil and stick it under, and then apply my root color on the other side. Make sure I get all the angles covered, and then I put another little half foil on top of that. That way I don't get any bleed marks. So I'm just working really cleanly through the head. I'm gonna finish applying this and then open up the back and probably start rinsing and shampooing the back section, because that's been on, you know, this 9 volume doesn't need a super long time to process. We'll do 20. So I'm gonna set a timer as soon as I get to this top for 20, and then go ahead and take her in. That's been on for in about 10 minutes. Okay, so we pulled all the foils back, got nice and light, consistent throughout. My top section, I went ahead and rinsed. Could have sat on a little bit longer, and the root could have got a little bit lighter, but this is really my target level for the root. It's like a golden 8, not any like real orange in there. So I rinsed at the root and just resaturated the ends through here because they were still looking like a warm 7, and I wanted to make sure that that got nice and light around there. Now around her face, I'm only gonna tap with the 8 in and bring it out. I don't want to really necessarily hit here with that 6 in too much. I want to keep that bright. But right when we get into the bangs, that's typically where a client who's been all over dark, they're not like ready for that blonde or that caramel to come all the way up into the top, so they want that root that's gonna make them feel natural. Like if this is coming up to the root here, then that's fine. And there's also still like a lot of dimension from her natural before still in there. So I don't want to take that away too much. So I'm not going to hit that with a 6. So also anywhere that I got like some warmth at the root, maybe from some bleed marks or something like that, I mixed up a little bit of 4 in, and this is all in DA color with 9 volume, just to zap that and get that neutralized and kind of balanced with the color that's around it. And lastly, I'm definitely using the Dia color because I want more coverage and not any of that warmth reflecting through, versus like if I use shades where I'm more color correcting than enhancing the tone. I haven't like lifted past what I wanted and then toning back like I would with shades. So I want something a little bit more permanent. Okay, it's time to tone. And we've got several different toners we're gonna be mixing up. Back here where she got nice and light, especially at the root, we're pretty white, and then it's got like a little bit of the tone from the root color that it's picked up, so it's like a little bit ashy. So I'll go back and do like a warm. Okay, so I've totaled her ticket based on what I actually did versus what I estimated, because I was thinking like between 700 and 1,000, and I was over by just a smidge. And with the blow dry, 1,148. And if you know, I would offer her the Gold Club pricing when I went and quoted her, so that would have brought it closer to the 1,000. So. Okay, so we're super excited about the end result. Her hair lifted fantastically, and ultimately it was the really great saturation on the foil and heavy saturation throughout. So we were able to keep her at like a level 8-9 for the blonde between the dimension, and then around the face it's really consistent, nice and light. We're super happy. She's just getting used to
being this blonde.
Yeah, having blonde in her hair.